Let's talk about the Washington Commanders. Right now, this is the only team in the NFL that currently does not have their head coaching spot filled. They're the last team to get this thing filled out. This should have been done 2 to 3 weeks ago, in my opinion. They had a lot of interest in Ben Johnson. He recently just told them, hey, I'm going to go back to the Detroit Lions. Thank you for the opportunity. He told Seattle Seahawks the same thing. They had an interview with Coach Mike McDonald, who was the former defensive coordinator with the Ravens. He is now the head coach with the Seattle Seahawks. So what is going on with the Washington Commanders? They have had interviews with Eric Bieniemy. They also just finished up an interview with Dan Quinn, who is the defensive coordinator with the Dallas Cowboys. I will say this right here. They have a lot of holes to fill on this roster, but I'm not putting all of this on the new ownership because the previous ownership has done so much bad with this team. He's ran them into the ground. Ron Rivera was the head coach of this team for this season, and it's the reason why he is gone. He was terrible, and his entire coaching staff was terrible as well. I'm putting Eric Bieniemy into that as well because a lot of people in the mainstream media were saying, hey, give Eric Bieniemy a shot. He should be a head coach. We're starting to see why he wasn't a head coaching candidate realistically for teams a couple of years ago, and we see it right now. Sam Howell was the most sacked quarterback, most hit quarterback, most pressured quarterback in the NFL. They did not attempt to run the football enough with Brian Robinson Jr. or Antonio Gibson. And those are not bad running backs, especially Brian Robinson Jr. They ran the football early on for the first 3 to 4 games. After that, the run game disappeared. You put a lot on Sam Howell. I'm not saying that Sam Howell is perfect because a lot of people say that, hey, he's a turnover-prone quarterback, but this is his first year fully starting. I think that Sam Howell could be a very good quarterback with this team. They should still go out there and do their due diligence to see if they want to get Drake May, possibly trade up to get Caleb Williams, or go with Jaden Daniels. But I will come on here and say this right now. If they hire Eric Bieniemy to be their head coach, he's not going to be the long-term answer to that problem that they have. It's going to be one of those situations. He gets the job for a year. If it doesn't work out, they'll move out from him. Because of what I've seen from Eric Bieniemy since he's been away with the Kansas City Chiefs, it makes zero sense. Sam Howell is not a perfect quarterback, and the offensive line is horrible. Andrew Wiley is their best offensive lineman, and he's solid at best. Why are you calling deep routes down the field 15 and 30 yards in shotgun? You're not helping out your quarterback. And Sam Howell has decent mobility. If he did not have the mobility that he has, he would have easily broke the sack record that David Carr set many decades ago with the Houston Texans. Just a terrible situation overall. So you have a huge question mark around Sam Howell. Is he the guy? Is he not the guy? Then you have the offensive line that you need to fix. You have elite weapons. I really like Terry McLaurin, over 1,000 yards receiving every single season in his career. He seems like he's going to be the new Mike Evans of the NFL. This kid is phenomenal. You have Jahan Dotson, who had over 500 receiving yards this season. He's a very good receiver for the team if he can stay fully healthy. I like Curtis Samuel as well, 613 receiving yards. So they have good weapons at the wide receiving spot. Logan Thomas can be a very good tight end if he can stay healthy and more consistent with this team. It's just the offensive line, the offensive end, and the offensive philosophy that Eric Bieniemy failed to fill in with this team. And you look at their defense. This is when problems really started to hurt this team because you're putting Sam Howell in a bad situation. Like I mentioned before, he's not a perfect quarterback. He's a gunslinger. He's going to come with some interceptions. But when your total defense is dead last in the NFL, your passing defense is dead last in the NFL, and you can't cover anyone, you're going to be in a bad situation. They selected Emmanuel Forbes in the first round this year. He did not look good his rookie season. He looked like a bust. Long term, he can be a better corner with this team. I'm not going to give up on him. Maybe it was the way that Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera were using him, but it was not into the best of his ability. He looked completely bad. And we go back to college. When he was coming out of Mississippi State, he was known for one thing, being a press man corner. They put him in press man situation this season. It wasn't good. I go back and I look at what happened in that Chicago Bears game. He could not cover DJ Moore one-on-one. He could not cover guys like CeeDee Lamb one-on-one. He was not a good corner this season with this team. So bad that they benched him at a certain point in time. They fired Jack Del Rio after the Dallas Cowboys lost after the Thanksgiving Day game. They should have fired Ron Rivera as well. So I look at the Washington Commanders right now. You may have a brand new owner. You may have brand new ownership. You're going into a brand new direction. It doesn't matter. At the same time, the team is still not good. It's the reason why you have the second overall pick. And like I mentioned before, a lot of guys in the mainstream media were saying, hey, give Eric Bieniemy a job. Give him a head coaching job. Why hasn't he gotten a job? We're starting to see why. It wasn't all on Eric Bieniemy. But when you're putting your young quarterback in a bad situation to fully carry the team on his back with a horrible offensive line, these things are going to happen. And right now, no one else is taking Eric Bieniemy seriously as a head coaching candidate. And Dan Quinn, the last time we saw him as a head coach, he was a head coach of the Atlanta Falcons that ended in a complete collapse against the New England Patriots when they blew that 28-3 lead after the halftime. So I do believe that Dan Quinn can be a solid option at the head coaching spot, but he's not going to be the long-term guy. The same with Eric Bieniemy. Both those guys can work out, but on paper, it doesn't seem like it. And right now, the Commanders have a lot of pieces that they need to move around. You traded your two best pass rushers. Montez Sweat is no longer with this team. He's on the Chicago Bears. You moved him for a second-round pick because you didn't want to pay him. You moved on from Chase Young. Chase Young was an injury-prone player with this team. I don't hate that move. You got a third-round pick for him. But those guys are two first-round picks. You wasted two first-round picks on those guys for them to no longer be with this team. Well, not wasted. You spent two first-round picks on those guys for them not to be with the team long-term. You have Daron Payne, who's a very good defensive tackle. I like Jonathan Allen, a very good defensive tackle, a very good run stopper as well. They have good pieces with this team. They have good players. As a team, they're not good, and they desperately need linebacking help. I like Jamin Davis a lot, but Cody Barton is not a true starter. We can go back with the Seattle Seahawks and see that. He's a bench player at best. Solid rotational piece. As an every down linebacker, you're screwed if he is on the field. They have solid playmakers here and there, especially on the offensive end. But I am worried about this team long term because they missed out on key coaches that they definitely had heavy interest in. They really wanted Ben Johnson. They really wanted Coach McDonald. If that didn't work out with Ben Johnson, they put all their eggs in one basket and it didn't work out for them. I do think long term, the Commanders will be in a better situation with this new ownership. They're better than Dan Snyder, but Dan Snyder did so much bad with this team. We can go back a couple of years ago when they were the Washington Redskins at the time. Even when they kept franchise tagging Kirk Cousins like it was a video game. It didn't work out for them long term. They haven't been able to find consistency at that quarterback spot since Kirk Cousins. We can speak of names like Alex Smith. His career ended in a horrible way. He was a solid option with this team. But you talk about guys like Carson Wentz. That was just a terrible stint. Sam Howell did not have the best season this season, but the offensive line was the worst offensive line in the NFL. We have to put that in context as well. I understand that he led the league in turnovers, but let's take a look and say, hey, this is why he did it, because of coaching and because of the offensive line. They have good pieces here. I think you bring in the right coach that can figure this thing out, but this team is years away from contending for the NFL playoffs, in my opinion, because you look at the division that they're in, they can give the New York Giants a lot of problems. The Commanders and the Giants always have good games. They're always close to each other because of the matchups. But when they go against a team like the Dallas Cowboys, it's no competition. When they go against a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, they're close in that game as well. They were close in both of the games this season, and they beat them just a year before on the Monday Night Football game with Taylor Heineke because they ran the football. They match up very well with them. But we talk about making a true playoff push, they're years away from that unless Sam Howell fully develops as that true gunslinger that they're hoping for, or they go out there and draft Drake May, or they trade up to get Caleb Williams, or they get Jaden Daniels, whoever it is, whoever that quarterback is for the future, make sure you fix the offensive line. I'm a big Sam Howell guy. I think you give him another shot, but you may not have a pick this high again. So I do fully understand what the other half of the fan base is saying when they say, hey, forget Sam Howell. Let's go get a Jaden Daniels or a Drake May. If you do not fix the offensive line, you can have Tom Brady back there. You can have Patrick Mahomes back there. It doesn't matter. You have to get the trenches right. You're going to have the second overall pick this year. You're going to have a lot of cap space. Go spend that money on the offensive line and go get some playmakers on the defensive end as well. Because you look at their pass rushers, like I mentioned before, you're going to get a lot of pass rush from the inside. Casey Toohill had 5 sacks on the season. He's your only consistent edge rusher right now. But you're going to get a lot of pass rush from Daron Payne and from Jonathan Allen up the middle. Let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Washington Commanders, and who do you want to see the next head coach be with this team? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, when each and every last one, guys, stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Peace.